Before we start the podcast, I just want to talk to you guys about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me explain why. First of all, it's free, so you can get it anywhere, anytime, costs no money. Second of all, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, whatever device you choose. As well as that, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast too with no minimum listenership. That means a nobody podcast like mine can make money off of sponsorships. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So if you haven't tried Anchor or you want to start a podcast and haven't tried it yet, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started.
You're listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast, hosted by Dylan Dillo Smith, Midwestern Ontario one and only MMA podcast, where we interview MMA fighters and voice actors like Sergeant Frank Woods.
What is up, everybody? It is Dillo, and welcome to another episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. This is episode 37, my lord. Today, we have quite a little bit to talk about, a bit of a controversy that happened during last night's fights. As we speak about this, as of recording this, everybody knows this by now, hopefully. When we do this, we record this the Sunday after all the fights. If there's MMA that's happening on Sunday, we'll cover it next week, all that good jazz and stuff. Last night, we had Creator Clash and UFC Vegas 54. So my recollection of some of the preliminary fights may be a little fuzzy, so just bear with me on that one. But let's get into everything we need to talk about. Today, I am going to gloss over the Bellator 281 main event. Then we're going to go to Creator Clash. I'm going to go through the entire event. And then after that, we're going to go to the big beef of the episode, which is UFC Vegas 54 and all the fights that happened last night. So, without further ado, let's get right into Bellator 281 real quick. So, before I get into the main event, I just want to talk about the co-main event real quick. Fabian Edwards, I believe it was Fabian Edwards. Leon Edwards is, I think, family member. I honestly don't remember what type of family member he is, but I know he's related. And he went up against Lyoto Machida in the co-main event of Bellator 281. And it was a great fight between both guys, very back and forth striking-wise, until Fabian Edwards landed a nice hook that stumbled Lyoto, and he just capitalized on that, started swarming and putting the pressure on, and then he just KO'd Lyoto with, I think a right hook that landed, and dropped him against the cage. So, good on you, Fabian Edwards. That's a huge win in your career. Even if it's a waning Lyoto Machida, that's still a big name on your resume to say, I beat Lyoto Machida, right? But anyway, the main event of Bellator 281 was an interim welterweight title fight between Michael Venom Page and Loganstorley. And my God, it went exactly the way I expected. Loganstorley is a very wrestle-heavy guy. He's an incredible wrestler as well. And Michael Venom Page is primarily a kickboxer, a flashy striker, if you will. He has all right game, ground game on the ground. He's pretty good on the ground. But there's only so much you can do on the ground, and he showed that. He was very limited in his repertoire that he had. So the entire fight for 5 goddamn rounds was Michael Venom Page getting taken down after a little bit of striking on the feet, and Loganstorley trying to set up the takedowns and just getting absolutely dominated with no damage being done. And while I agree with Scott Coker's sentiment that shouldn't win fights, unfortunately, according to the scoring criteria, it does. Now, if it's a close round where the takedown happens and the ground game happens for a little bit, then no. But because of the scoring criteria and how minimal the striking is in each round, yeah, that's exactly how it happens. It ended up being a split decision, surprisingly enough, I believe. And Loganstorley ended up winning that fight and ended up becoming the interim welterweight champion. One more thing about Bellator 281 as well. Paul Semtex Daly, the man who punched Josh Koscheck after the bell, the man who booed everyone in the arena as he was getting wrestle fucked by John Fitch, vice, etc., etc. He retired last night in the Bellator cage with a very nasty knockout of his opponent. It was awesome. Great way to just send the old man off. And I hope, good luck, and I hope he does incredible in his future endeavors. But this is like his third retirement, so for some reason, I could see him back in the cage anytime soon, so we'll see. But anyway, now that we're done with Bellator 281, just real quickly, CFFC 108 happened on Saturday as well. Damon Blackshear defended his bantamweight title. It was an awesome fight. Damon Blackshear's a beast. I can't wait to see him on Dana White's Contender Series eventually, something like that. We also had LFA 132 in Brazil. Nothing too big about that happened, just a bunch of Brazilian prospects fighting. Pretty big card for LFA nonetheless, so I won't discount it too much. I know some of you more casual people are here for the Creator Clash results. So, without further ado, let's talk about Idubbbz' Creator Clash. First of all, for the other people who watch this podcast, who usually watch this podcast, and are into more combat sports, you're probably wondering what it is, what Creator Clash is, so let me explain. A while back, Idubbbz had announced that he had been in the works of making a YouTuber boxing event, like a influencer boxing event, and not your typical like, yo, look at me, I'm a pro boxer type of boxing event. This was like a good-hearted, we're gonna put actual like everyone against each other, wacky matchmaking type things, and it's all gonna go to charity. So he reached out to a bunch of influencers a while back, and these were the matchups of last night for the boxing event. And I gotta say, for a YouTuber boxing event, everyone did pretty fucking decent and showed okay to fundamentals of boxing, but I didn't expect much from influencers, and everybody did an incredible job. But anyway, these were the matchups. Fight 1 of the night was Matt Watson versus Nathan Barnett, aka Dad. Matt Watson is the one half of the comedy duo Super Mega. Bout 2 of the night was Ryan McKee from Super Mega versus David Dobrik friend and vlogger Alex Ernst. Number 3 of the night was Eric / Salvia from Internet Comment Etiquette with Eric, or the man who tried salvia on YouTube a long time ago and said, excuse me, I'm going to space now, going up against DJ Welch. And then number 4 was I Did a Thing, going up against Odd Ones Out. Number 5 was Twitch streamer Just a Minx, going up against TikToker Yodeling Haley. That one ended not in the way that I expected, to be honest. Number 6 was what looked like on paper a complete mismatch, but ended up being a closer fight than I thought, but maybe it was more Hundar style, but Hundar versus Starkilla from H3 Podcast, going up against each other. Number 7, so the featured bout before the 2 main events, was Michael Reeves, the man who would quite literally terrorize William Osman, and the guy who is, what's her face? Little cute Asian streamer girl. That's his girlfriend, or it was. I don't know if they're together anymore. He does a bunch of shit on YouTube where he creates weird-ass inventions. Like, I think his most viral one is he made a microwave that only works when you scream at it. So that's something. Going up against Graham Stefan, who I actually don't know who that is. I'm genuinely going to be honest with you guys here. I know who pretty much everybody on the card was, except for Graham Stefan. But Michael Reeves goes up against Graham Stefan, 2 little guys going up against each other at lightweight. Number 8, the co-main event, was Epic Mealtime's Harley Mornstein going up against Aaron Hansen from fucking Game Grumps. And then the main event, of course, was Dr. Mike versus Idubbbz, the man himself who started the whole event. So let's get into the Creator Clash results now that I've laid everything out for you guys. Just saying, this is going to be a little bit longer of an episode because I want to go through all the fights. Number 1 of the night, Nathan Barnett, aka Dad, absolutely slobber knocks fucking Matt Watson. Just starches him in 22 seconds. Matt Watson, I give him respect for stepping in there and having the balls to train, but looked like he trained minimal and just didn't work on any fundamentals at all. Every time he threw a strike, his chin was way up in the air. Every time he backed up and was on the back foot, his chin was up in the air. he was just open to getting clipped, and it showed. Dad, on the other hand, came into this absolutely prepped, jacked to the fucking gills, and just showed that he loves boxing. He had some pretty decent strikes and landed some absolute bombs on Matt Watson, ending him in 22 seconds in the first round, which was insane. So the second fight of the night, Ryan McKee had to represent Super Mega in a nice way. And so he did. Both guys showing absolute heart in the fight. Alex Ernst just absolutely slobber knocking Ryan McKee. And Ryan McKee just marching forward and landing decent shots of his own. At one point landing a right hand that looked like it hurt Alex genuinely, like stumbled him. And Ryan just kept fucking marching forward no matter how much leather this man was eating. He may have lost a one-sided decision on the judge's scorecard, but this man showed absolute fucking heart. And honestly, I thought he was going to finish it in the final round. At the beginning, he was just swinging, hitting Alex Ernst, and Alex Ernst just looked out of it, man. He survived. It was just a great fight, great showing by just influencers, man. Like, it was incredible. That being said, the third fight of the night, I think the only person that I can say that didn't fucking prepare for this other than Matt Watson, maybe, was Eric from Internet Comment Etiquette. DJ Welsh comes in, looking chubby, but an absolute physical unit anyway. Eric just coming in looking chubby, and kind of, in shape, but not prepared at all in terms of boxing prowess. This man got fucking smacked around for 2 rounds until the ref decided to put a stop to it in the second round. DJ Welsh ended up TKOing him in the second round. So that was the second TKO of the night. If you guys remember, I just said Ryan McKee lost on points. Fourth fight of the night was, in my opinion, just a slight little mismatch between I Did a Thing, Australia's comedian and crazy man who tries everything, going up against Animator James from The Odd Ones Out. And both guys looked in shape, but just I Did a Thing looked like he was in so much better shape and looked way more prepared for this. And in 1 minute and 24 seconds, TKO'd James on his birthday. How fucking disrespectful. Anyway, he ended up TKOing The Odd Ones Out in under a round. It was brutal. That leads us into our fifth fight of the night, which was our only women's bout, and I think, for what people were saying, the first ever women's influencer boxing bout between Twitch streamer Justin Minx and Yodeling Haley. And looking at the pre-fight packages that they showed for each fighter, Yodeling Haley looked like she had some decent fundamentals in boxing. Her combos were crisp and fast. She seemed to have actual control over them. But it turns out that went all to shit as soon as she went into the fucking ring, because both women were just throwing sloppy strikes and just having an absolute back and forth fight of their own. And Justin Minx, at the end of round 5, pulls out a complete fucking comeback win and TKO's Yodeling Haley. Like, it was an absolute fucking just comeback from behind victory. It was insane. But yeah, Minx ends up TKOing Yodeling Haley at the end of round 4. It's insane. And then we get bout number 6. Hundar, who's a man of many jobs on YouTube, who's most recently known for hosting the Muscle Party podcast, but has been on Machinima, on the likes of like Inside Gaming and Machinima Respawn, and even Cow Chop. This man has been everywhere and is known for his crazy hijinks and just how insane and aggressive he can be. And he's just lovable for it. Going up against AB Starkiller from the H3 podcast. I genuinely don't know what the fuck he does on the podcast, but he's there, I guess. And he was going up against Hundar. And I expected Hundar to come out of this fight swinging. That didn't happen. Starkiller did more swinging than Hundar did. Hundar methodically and slowly, with his hands just blocking his face the whole time, walked down Starkiller, picking his shots. And then when it came to the end of round 5, or near the end of round 5, he started swinging a bit more and landing his shots more clean, and the ref had to step in. So Hundar, doing exactly what I thought was going to happen, but not in exactly the way I thought, TKO'd Starkiller And then we move on. Bout number 7. Michael Reeves versus Stefan. Holy fuck. You know, I kind of figured that Michael Reeves was going to win because Goblin Energy. But holy Jesus, his Goblin Energy was through the roof this time. He had absolutely fast and crisp combos, was hitting with absolute power and bombs. The only issue was he had no defense. And Stefan was hitting some shots too. But because Michael Reeves was landing bombs, that was okay. He could eat those shots and ended up finishing Stefan via TKO at the end of round 2. It was fun. Well, not in the end, but more like midway through, close to the beginning, kind of that. It was like about a minute in, and he just fucking made short work of Stefan. That led us to the co-main event, the second heavyweight bout on the card, the big boys. The only other fight that I saw going one-sidedly, and I was fucking right, Harley Morenstein going up against Aaron Hansen. I don't know why this fight was made. I don't know who allowed it, but Harley is like 6'6", fucking 300 pounds, and he lost weight for this. Aaron is like 6 foot, maybe 6'2", and just breaking heavyweight. And holy fucking shit. I will admit, Aaron did a good job. He landed some decent shots. But Harley just came out swinging like a monster, man. Landing brutal fucking shots. And just smoking Aaron Hansen. Which ended up with a round 2 TKO for Harley. And this is the best part of the night. Probably my favorite part of the night. And the only good promo that ever happened that whole night. Harley called out Dr. Disrespect in probably the greatest fucking promo ever. And if we see a Creator Clash 2, please, Idubbbz, make that the main event, man, because that promo alone could sell so much, so many tickets. And then, like, including that, like, having them both go at it verbally. Harley's great going at it verbally, but the Doc, man, the Doc talks. The Doc's got a silver tongue. So, putting those two in a press conference together, and then, because I'm going to be honest, I always thought Doc was bullshitting his height. I know he kind of is a bit, but people have met him, and he's a huge fucking dude. So it would be a fair fight for both guys on the end, because Harley's a bigger, chunkier guy, but muscular. Doc, on the other hand, is a little bit more slender, fucking muscular. It'd be a perfect matchup. It would be a great matchup if you want to do another Creator Clash for charity. I would love to see it. Many of the people on the card last night even said that they would do it again. It was fun. So I would love to see more of this. This was the only YouTuber boxing event that ended up being rather fun to watch and not a complete fucking shit show. That being said, we had the main event still. And watching the packages. Before the entire event came ahead and they announced the bouts, I was like, yeah, Dr. Mike, I don't know if he's got a chance. Idubbbz has been training for a couple of years now because he was doing it since the Jinx fucking saga. But then I started seeing the actual promotional packages for Dr. Mike, and I learned that Dr. Mike had actually been doing this for 10 years as well. Jesus Christ, I expected Dr. Mike to win right away. And I was right. Dr. Mike defeated Idubbbz via unanimous decision. But what I didn't expect was how competitive of a fight it was going to be, even though on the scorecards it didn't look competitive. Yes, Dr. Mike won every round, but they were close rounds every round. Dr. Mike very definitively landed more strikes, hurt Idubbbz several times, but Idubbbz was landing punches of his own and had Dr. Mike in trouble a couple times. And the thing that surprised me the most, and what made me think that he's been training since the Jinx saga, because for those who are fans of Idubbbz, you remember he's been wanting to box since fucking 2015, 2016, when Jinx was getting mad that Idubbbz called him out. And I was thinking, I think he's been training since then, because last night in that ring, he showed pretty decent fundamentals of boxing in terms of throwing combos and trying to slip out of the way. He ate a lot of damage, granted, but he did pretty good in countering and showed decent fundamentals, especially with footwork and how he kept switching stance and how useful he was in each stance. You know, usually you could tell if somebody isn't training much and they switch stance, it's like seeing a physically handicapped person trying to throw punches. But with Idubbbz, it was pretty decent. Like I said, both guys showed great boxing prowess. Obviously, Dr. Mike more, but I was really surprised with Idubbbz' boxing fundamentals. And honestly, like I said, the whole event was fun to watch. It was a joy to just sit down and watch, and I would love for another one to happen. And the best part about it is none of these guys are doing it for a big paycheck. Yeah, I'm sure they'll get paid at the end of the day, but a lot of the proceeds of all the pay-per-view and like ticket revenue is going to charity of, I think, the event's choice. I can't remember the charity name, but they had a bunch lined up. I believe there was one, I can't remember who on the card, but there was another person on the card who said, I'm not going to fight on the card. I don't want money. I don't want to be paid for it. I want, if you're going to pay for me, or, pay for me to be on the card, I want that money to go to a charity of my choice. I can't remember which influencer on the card was that, but they did exactly that. I thought it was fucking awesome. It was just a great event. It goes to a great cause, and I'd love to see it again. But anyway, that's it for YouTuber boxing. I know you guys weren't here for that. Let's get to the big boys. Let's get to UFC Vegas 54. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's just fucking jump right into it, folks. All right, let us get into this, my friends. Okay, so last night we had 10 fights. We were slated to have, I believe, 11, but one of them was canceled, I believe, like a week or two before, or something like that. But we did end up getting 10 fights, and I want to say over half of them were finishes. Easily. Maybe a little bit over half of them were finishes, so it was a decent card. No bigger names, but some that, some UFC fans or at least MMA fans will know. So let's just jump right into it. The first fight of the night, and you guys will probably recognize a name from this one. I don't know if you guys will, but I hope so. First fight of the night was, I believe, a middleweight bout between Andre Petrovsky, who was the most recent Ultimate Fighter finalist, I believe. Yeah, he was the he was the semi-finalist. He ended up getting a shot in the UFC anyway because of how well he did on the show. And he was having his second actual fight in the UFC last night, where he was going up against 8-0 Nick Maximov, who's a very highly touted prospect. But, holy, he made quick work of Nick Maximov. Of course, the fight started. They're feeling each other out. Nick Maximov is trying to close the distance, trying to get his game plan going. Eventually, he does. He gets to a takedown. Both guys scrambling. And Nick Maximov trying to get something going. Andre Petrovsky reverses it and gets Nick Maximov eventually into an anaconda choke. And Maximov trying to scramble, to roll, try to get out of it. He ends up getting himself deeper as Andre Petrovsky rolls with him, not allowing him to get out of it. And Nick Maximov, instead of tapping, goes out cold. 1 minute, 16 seconds into the first round, Andre Petrovsky is your winner via technical submission, via an anaconda choke. It was awesome. It was a great showing by Andre Petrovsky. Tough luck for Nick Maximov, but, I did talk a lot of shit on Twitter a while back about Andre Petrovsky because of something he did on The Ultimate Fighter. He bitched about some bullshit that didn't happen, but I do like the guy as a fighter. Like, the guy is very talented, clearly very talented, especially on the ground. So, a great showing by Andre Petrovsky, and it was a great way to start the night. Just a quick submission that puts somebody out cold. It was great. Second fight of the night, though, was Tatsuro Taira going up against Carlos Candelario. And I believe it was Tatsuro's UFC debut. He was, I believe, 10 or 11-0 coming into this fight. And holy, I know he was a highly touted Japanese prospect. Japan's always given us great fighters, but I know he was a highly touted Japanese prospect. But he came in and just completely dominated Carlos Candelario on the feet. It wasn't too definitive, but it was clearly Tatsuro who was the better guy. On the ground, though, it was just complete domination from start to finish. Tatsuro Taira ends up edging out a decision. Not even edging out, sorry. Completely dominating a decision. 30-27 on two judges' scorecards and 30-26 on one of the judges' scorecards. It was just a complete domination from start to finish. And if you thought that wasn't enough for dominations, next fight, we had Virna Jandiroba going up against Angela Hill. And the entire fight was spent on the ground, where Virna completely outgrappled Angela Hill. And Angela Hill just really didn't have much of an answer for it, where Virna brought the fight to a unanimous decision scorecard and just took it away with it, all three judges scoring at 30-27 in her favor. So 2 fights now, we have decisions. We thought it was going to be a boring card. Michael Johnson and Alan Patrick come in. They entered the chat, and all of a sudden, they're swinging and banging, takedowns happening, heavy-ass punches landing left, right, and center from both guys. I thought there was moments where Alan Patrick was going to knock out Michael Johnson, but in round 2, halfway through round 2, Michael Johnson hits Alan Patrick with a nice left hook, has him hurt, starts swearing him down, hits him with a nice 1-2 combination that just fucking drops him, and hits him with a couple more punches that stiffen him out completely. Michael Johnson just getting the nasty knockout. But honestly, it makes me sad to see because, yeah, he's a great fighter, and he got the beautiful knockout, but it still doesn't change the fact that he's iffy in the UFC. But great knockout nonetheless by Michael Johnson. Just completely flattened out Alan Patrick. And that brings us to the final fight of the prelims. And I'll be honest, not much to talk about. Close fight between both girls. Angela Lee having a decent time on the ground. On the feet, Viviana Araujo mostly doing work on the feet. But most of it was contested on the ground, a little bit on the feet. Angela Lee losing a unanimous decision, 29-28 and 29-27 on 2 judges' scorecards. The thing I wanted to talk about this fight, and it was the thing that everybody was talking about, was in between rounds. I can't remember which round it was, because this was around the time I was still watching Creator Clash while I was watching this, so I was kind of, focused on both. It was kind of hard to focus on both, but a lot of people were pointing this out. During one of the rounds in between, we had Toney Kelley in the corner of Angela Lee giving her advice, and part of it was talking about she's a dirty fucking Brazilian. We know Brazilians are always fucking dirty, something along the lines. And this completely took Twitter by storm last night and this morning, where a lot of people are accusing Toney Kelley of being racist. Now, I'm not going to be the one to, make that decision. I'm not going to fucking cast the stone because I don't think I have that authority to. I'm a white man. I don't think I have the authority to call out racism, but I will admit, out of context, it does sound very fucking disgusting and ignorant, like very ignorant. And I don't blame Twitter at all. I understand the backlash completely. So I'm not here to defend him. I'm just here to parrot what he said after the fight. He came out with a statement saying that what he said in the heat of the moment during or in between rounds in the corner was not intended in a racist intent, and that he was actually referencing an eye poke that happened that wasn't called, apparently. And that's what he meant by Brazilians are fucking dirty. We know they've always been fucking dirty. He meant they've always been dirty fighters, not that they were filthy, is what his statement was. Now, whether or not, I think that's what he meant, I'm not going to say for certain because I didn't watch it live and I'm just hearing hearsay. But if that's true, if what Toney Kelley is saying is true and there was an eye poke, then yeah, I completely understand why he is saying what he's saying. But I don't remember an eye poke happening. I'm sure there was one. I just have to go back and watch the fight one more time. And if there wasn't an eye poke, then yeah, there is without a doubt no reason he should have said what he said, and there's no excuse for it. So I'll let Toney Kelley defend himself. I'm just here to kind of lay it out on the line here and let everybody know what's going on. I'm not here to make an opinion. But anyway, that fight ended up going the way of Viviana Araujo anyway, and that leads us into the main card. So why don't we get right into it so we can just get out of here? Let's do it. It started with I believe a bantamweight or flyweight bout between Alan Nascimento and Jake Hadley. Jake Hadley had been talking a lot of shit on Twitter leading up to this fight. I don't think about Alan Nascimento in particular, but just to a lot of people in his division. And honestly, he'd been talking a lot of shit before he even got this fight to a lot of people in his division trying to get a fight. And I'm just going to say this, man. I thought Jake Hadley was better than he is, but Alan Nascimento just showing that he's just a step ahead of Jake Hadley and pretty much putting egg on Jake Hadley's face with all the shit that he talked. The entire fight was a dominant, just from start to bell, a dominant display of grappling, mostly grappling and striking on the feet, but mostly grappling from Alan Nascimento. He ended up getting the unanimous decision via 30-27 on all three judges' scorecards. And honestly, I just thought it was a poor showing from Jake Hadley. And Alan Nascimento surprised quite a few people, showing that he's way more comfortable in being a grappler than we first initially thought when we saw him in the octagon, initially. He ended up getting his first octagon win, so good for him. And it's unfortunate for Jake Hadley. He's no longer undefeated. The next fight of the night was a lightweight fight between Manuel Torres and Frank Camacho, man. Frank Camacho is somewhat of a veteran in the lightweight division in the UFC and is never in a boring fight. Never. Like, it's impossible. The words boring and Frank Camacho cannot be in the same sentence unless that sentence or phrase is Frank Camacho never has a boring fight. And he showed that last night. Both guys were swinging and fucking banging, man. Hitting each other with absolute bricks for shots. You could hear it. Even over the crowd that was hyped over the fight, you could fucking hear these shots land. Like, hold on. Maybe I can mimic the fucking noise it was making. It was like a loud, like that, like a loud smack every time they'd land. First time I hit my mic, that was my bad. But yeah, those other two, that was what it was. Just a loud fucking smack. It was crazy. Both guys were just swinging and banging, and only for one round too, because at one point, couple points, we thought Frank Camacho was gonna finish Manny Torres, and then Manny Torres, out of nowhere, lands a nice 1-2 that drops Frank Camacho, and he was about to follow up, but the ref steps in, noticing that Frank Camacho was he was there, but his eyes were rolling back, and he was just like, whoa, where am I? So the ref doing what every ref should do. Yeah, you should let them be warriors, but came in for the safety of the fighter. But it was just an incredible fight for one round. It was awesome. I loved it. That being said, that brings us to the last decision of the night. Katlyn Chookagian versus Amanda Ribas in flyweight. Amanda Ribas coming up from strawweight, I believe, to face Katlyn Chookagian, who's the number one contender currently at flyweight. And just respect to Amanda Ribas for facing someone who's like 7 inches or 8 inches taller than her. It was incredible. And doing an incredible job, too. Doing an amazing job closing the distance, getting the takedowns, just doing great on the feet, minimizing Katlyn Chookagian's long, rangy striking, bringing it to the ground and minimizing Katlyn Chookagian's submission game and scrambles, maintaining top control. And I personally think, I'm not going to say it was a robbery, because I'm sure it wasn't, but I personally think the decision that they gave was bullshit, because I thought Amanda Ribas won that fight. But Katlyn Chookagian, despite me thinking that Amanda Ribas did enough, edged out the split decision via 28-29, 29-28 on 2 judges' scorecards. So she ended up winning 2-1 on the judges' scorecards. And I don't know, I just don't think she did. I think Amanda Ribas did enough, especially on the ground and on the feet, to edge out the decision. Yeah, Katlyn Chookagian didn't do bad, and she was in the fight and made it incredibly fucking competitive, like a hard fight to score. But I still think Amanda Ribas did enough, and I don't know, I just thought it was a bullshit decision. But I'm not too mad about it, so, let's move on. I just thought, personally, it was a bullshit decision in my opinion. Anyway, let's move on to the next fight, which was a bantamweight bout between Davy Grant and Louis Samoka. And holy fuck, what was it with the Apex last night? Did everybody just want to throw hands last night? Because that's basically just what happened all fight. 3 rounds of Davy Grant and Louis Samoka landing fucking bombs on each other and being technical with their attempts on takedowns, kicks, everything. Landing calf kicks, landing jabs down the middle that were literally smacking and just snapping each other's heads back. End of the first round, Davy Grant lands a nice jab, like a smacking jab that drops Louis Samoka. Could have ended in a finish. Saved by the bell. Second round, Louis Samoka comes in, has Davy Grant hurt, just doing an incredible job pouring it on Davy Grant. Third round comes in, and Davy Grant just lands a leg kick, because it's clear at this point. The key to Davy Grant's game was to throw leg kicks and follow him up with punches when they're least expecting it. And those leg kicks were adding up. And it was showing that, Louis Samoka's legs were about to give out. Davy Grant lands a leg kick in round 3 that drops Louis Samoka. Davy Grant rushes to the ground, starts landing hammer fists. A couple of them go through and completely put out Louis Samoka cold, like stiffen him up and everything. He ends up knocking him out via ground and pound. It was incredible. I loved it. So Davy Grant defeats Louis Samoka via knockout, leg kick, and punches, round 3. The co-main event was a light heavyweight bout. Another light heavyweight bout, because, the main event one is a light heavyweight bout as well. But it was a light heavyweight co-main event between Ryan Spann and Ion Cutelaba. And holy fuck, for one round, it was complete chaos. Ion Cutelaba landing absolute bombs that hurt Ryan Spann. Same thing with Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann landed a couple 1-2s that clearly fucking stumbled Ion and hurt him bad. And just near the end of the first round, Ion going for a fucking takedown or a clinch, and Ryan Spann not landing, but just snatching in a guillotine that was tight and ended up going to the ground. And not to the ground, but more their knees, and Ion had to tap because of how tight the guillotine choke was. It was just crazy. It was a crazy first round, nonetheless. That leads us to the main event of the evening. Jan Blachowicz, the former light heavyweight champion and man who beat Israel Adesanya, going up against Alexander Rakic. Let's talk about it, because I'm believing this, if I remember, I'm believing this is a number 1 contender fight. Whoever wins this goes up against Yuri or Glover, whoever wins next week. Or, no, not next week, the week after. Which, by the way, I will be going over next week's event at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned. Anyway, this was a number 1 contender fight in my belief. I believe so, anyway. And let's just go through all of it. Let's start with round 1. Both guys, not wasting any time at all. Round 1, both guys come out throwing bombs. Rakic hitting Jan with a couple of shots. One jab slipped through as Jan is ducking down, which opens up a cut kind of like on the eye, like under the eye, but kind of splitting up to near the tear duct. It looked like a nasty cut, to say the least. But it wasn't nasty enough for the ringside physician to step in and wave it off, so that was good. But anyway, Rakic lands a jab that just opens up a nasty cut on Jan, which is bothering Jan the whole time. But Jan, noticing a flaw. Both guys landing nasty fucking leg kicks. But the difference between either one is that Rakic was just eating the leg kicks coming at him, while after like 1 or 2 landing, Jan started to catch the leg kicks. He started to block them. But that being said, Rakic didn't seem to be bothered by the leg kicks. So he just continued onward, which is cool. Expected, tough guy. Round 1, I think, was close enough to be Jan's because he landed a couple good shots, even though Rakic got that cut on him. But I think Jan did enough with striking and landed enough leg kicks to edge it out. But it was a close round, close enough where the live betting odds were quite literally equal going into round 2. Round 2, however, was entirely Alexander Rakic. After a couple seconds, maybe over a minute on the feet, Rakic lands a single leg dump that lands into like a side control exchange and then top control, where he starts landing down shots, and Blachowicz doing a good job in scrambling and trying to stop the ground and pound from happening, and eventually he wiggles himself towards the cage, and throughout the entire round, it's just Rakic just maintaining top control while Jan is struggling to get up off the cage. And I don't think he does. I think he gets close at the end of the round, but the bell ends up ringing. That leaves us to round 3, the fateful round. We're coming in. Both guys are swinging, but not too crazily. It's clear both guys have a game plan set. And now Yan has to watch for the takedowns. But it's clear that Yan has a game plan set where he's going to pick his shots and land leg kicks, because clearly Rakic doesn't give a fuck about the leg kicks, and that could be something. And that's exactly what I thought when I saw how fucking badly damaged Rakic's leg was. Well, that wasn't what happened. Rakic doing a great job weaving out of the way, his footwork looking incredible. It was just at one moment, he slips out of the way of a Jan Blachowicz 1-2. And the way he steps back on his rear leg, something happens in his knee. And you can see it. You can't see what happens in his knee, but you can see the pain register immediately. And these guys are full of adrenaline, mind you. So if you feel that immediately, and he dropped immediately and grabbed his knee, something happened. Something blew in his knee. It didn't just tear. Something blew in his knee. Rakic drops, holds his knee. Ref immediately steps in. He takes no further damage. Jan Blachowicz is your winner via TKO leg injury, round number 3. And honestly, Jan didn't look too happy about the way the fight ended. He looked more concerned for Alexander Rakic, and I don't think Jan wanted to win that way. I think he wanted to win either a methodical decision or he wanted to finish him via TKO in a genuine way, not, causing him to step back and then he steps back wrong on his knee and it blows, right? I don't think, or at least I don't genuinely think Jan Blachowicz intended for this to happen, but nonetheless, Jan Blachowicz is your winner. And honestly, it was so unfortunate to see Rakic have that happen last night. I was in my fucking room at the time because I moved upstairs and I was watching it. And I remember when it happened, I was like, no, oh no, Rakic, no. Like, I was so upset, man, because he was doing so well for himself. I think if he continued his game plan there, because it looked like Yan had no answer to get up from Rakic's heavy game on the ground. Rakic had a way to win the fight, and he was doing so well and on his way to do that. And then that freak accident happens. Now, granted, if it's not as bad as we thought, he ends up needing just a little bit of surgery and heals in 6 to 8 months, whatever, I could see a rematch happening. But with the way that he dropped and how quickly the pain registered, I don't think that's it. He might need complete reconstruction depending on how severe the tear or blow is, but it was an unfortunate end to otherwise a pretty decent so far main event, and a unfortunate end to a pretty decent fight card for the night. So I was really upset, but nonetheless, congratulations to Yan. That's all I can really say, man. Congratulations to Yan. He played his game plan perfectly well. It's just unfortunate it ended the way it did. But anyway, that's it for UFC Vegas 54. Let's move on. One thing before I get into the whole next week's main event and kind of just going over the main event of UFC 274, because UFC 274 isn't next week, but the week after, and has some pretty decent fucking fights on there, and I want to go through them quick. But let's go through next week's main card, or not main card, but let's go through the whole card. That main event is Holly Holm going up against Katlyn Vieira. So that's going to be fun. Now, I'm going to be real with you folks. This has a pretty decent preliminary card. The first fight of the night alone is CFFC strawweight champ Elise Reed going up against Sam Hughes, who just had a fight 2 weeks ago. Then the next fight of the night is fucking Chase Hooper, my favorite featherweight, who interacts with everybody and who's quite literally a couple years younger than me, going up against Felipe Colares, whatever his name is. And then Jonathan Martinez and Vince Morales, those two are going to fucking bring a barn burner. That's going to be awesome. Holy shit, Omar Morales too. And, on top of that, we have Joseph Holmes, Joseph Holmes from LFA. I believe it was LFA, maybe Fury. Headlining the preliminary card. And then if that wasn't enough, the main card's pretty fucking decent too. We've got Eric Anders, Poliana Viana, and Tabitha Ricci, Santiago Ponzinibbio, and Michel Pereira. This is going to be a pretty decent main card. And is going to be a sleeper fight night card, hopefully. The main event, I don't know how that's going to go. But honestly, you can never go wrong with Michel Pereira being on the card because he's just full of energy. And going up against a guy like Ponzinibbio, it's just going to be complete chaos. Eric Anders always brings a show. Like I said, Vince Morales and Jonathan Martinez are going to fucking just slang and bang, dude. It's just going to be a fun card. I cannot wait. That being said, I think the card that I'm most excited about is UFC 274. Now, before we get to UFC 274, though, like card-wise, chronologically, we do have Fight Night Vulcan versus Rosenstruck, I believe. I can't remember who's on the card then. But I have to say, UFC 275 is shaping to be a fucking incredible card. I've been saying 274 this whole time, I realized. And I just caught myself like real quick. I'm pretty sure I've been saying 274 anyway, but I was like, I just caught myself real quick and I was like, holy fuck, I've been saying 274 and that just happened. But yeah, 275 is looking to be an incredible card, and I wanted to go through the main card with you because just listen to these fights alone on the card. Unfortunately, we're not getting Bobby Knuckles versus Marvin Vettori, but I believe that's being moved to another pay-per-view. But we do get Jack Della Maddalena going up against Ramazan Emeev, and Rogério Bontorn going up against Manuel Cap. But the three fights I'm most excited for, and they're right after each other, man, are Weili Zhang versus Joanna 2. If you guys don't remember, they fought in March of 2020, and that fucking fight was incredible. It was bananas. Hands down, the greatest women's fight in MMA history. And then the co-main event now is Valentina Shevchenko going up against surging contender Talia Santos. And then to tip off the night, it's old man power Glover Teixeira going up against surging prospect Yuri Prochazka. I'm excited for that one because Yuri is a crazy, crazy man. Loves to knock people out. But Glover has dad strength and is a complete veteran in this game. I just can't wait for this fight night card, or this, not fight night card, but the pay-per-view card. And I believe the prelims are also stacked as well, so that's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to go over the card after it happens. I think that is the biggest thing to take away from this, is the main card has me so excited. I am so hyped to cover this card. But anyway, that's it for today's episode. I've been rambling on for too long about MMA and about combat sports. I think you guys are sick of me. Anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day, and if you are watching this, or not watching this, but listening to this at the beginning of the week when we upload this, then I hope you guys have an incredible rest of your week. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out, you lovely people.
You've been listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Keep in touch with Dillo on his social media at Dillo Ross on Twitter and Dillo Ross on Instagram.